Michelle, and this time it is pertaining to the New York Times. Amazing that you're not going to believe this, okay? It looks like Justin Baldoni may have a very strong case against the New York Times. I know for a fact that the mainstream media will lie and they will smear on behalf of their powerful friends. I believe in due process, which is why I always read the facts of the case before accepting the media narrative that they were plotting with the New York Times for months.
Candace Owens has built her career on sparking debate. But this time her focus is locked on Hollywood, and the names she's circling are hard to ignore: Blake Lively, Justin Baldoni, Ryan Reynolds, and the close network around them. At first glance, their ties may seem like nothing more than casual industry overlap. Yet, according to Owens, what's unfolding behind the scenes is far more calculated. She contends that Lively actively maneuvered to edge Baldoni out of his own project, with Reynolds quietly but firmly standing behind her. In Hollywood, rivalries and creative disagreements are nothing new. Cast shakeups, rewrites, and public feuds have always been part of the culture. But Owens suggests this situation cuts deeper, pointing to unusual patterns that she believes reveal a deliberate campaign. Her claims hinge on a mix of digital breadcrumbs and public moments, oddly timed news coverage, metadata embedded in a major outlet's website that seems out of place, and even a sharp red carpet comment that reportedly blindsided the production team. If her sources prove accurate, the story takes a sharp turn. Baldoni, once celebrated for championing women's voices on screen, may have been systematically pushed aside by a couple powerful enough to reshape not only a movie, but its entire message. The implications are serious. Could this unfold into a lawsuit, or at the very least cause lasting reputational fallout for those involved? Owens argues it's more than likely. To her, the evidence shows not just tension, but a methodical effort to strip Baldoni of control and redirect the project to serve a different vision. What makes this twist especially striking is Owens herself. Known primarily for her no-filter takes on politics and culture, she rarely dives into Hollywood disputes. That's why her pivot to this feud between Lively and Baldoni has drawn such explosive attention. Through a stream of pointed posts, Owens laid out what she calls hard proof: leaked text exchanges, snippets of private audio, and technical evidence she says tie back to a months-long plan. In her telling, this wasn't a flare-up of egos, but a carefully orchestrated campaign that had been brewing well before the public caught wind of it.
And the rudest person.
Owens has made it clear this wasn't just a matter of artistic differences. In her telling, it was a calculated effort to strip Justin Baldoni of credibility piece by piece. Her exposé ignited a storm of reactions. Some were captivated, eager to believe every detail, while others dismissed it as too far-fetched. Yet Owens insists the evidence she's gathered, especially the digital trail, cannot be overlooked. She zeroes in on one of her most striking discoveries: suspicious metadata allegedly tied to the New York Times. From the moment the Times pushed out a hard-hitting article linking Baldoni to a harassment complaint involving Blake Lively, online sleuths noticed something odd in the source code. The images attached to the article weren't stored under neutral names as most newsrooms would do. They carried titles like smear_Baldoni and lively_topper, complete with creation dates that appeared before Lively's filing ever became public. Owens wasted no time pointing to the implications. Normally, media outlets keep file names generic or randomized. Words like smear don't appear by accident. To Owens, those timestamps told a bigger story. Someone knew what was coming and prepared for it days in advance. Her question was simple: why would the Times have those files ready to go if no complaint had yet been filed? Her speculation is bold, suggesting that insiders close to Lively and Reynolds may have quietly funneled information to ensure the damaging article landed at the perfect moment. While it's true that major publications often pre-draft coverage, Owens argues that the charged wording of those files is proof of intent, a sign that the press itself had been weaponized. From there, Owens shifts her focus back to the production of It Ends With Us, and specifically the rooftop scene that would become the flashpoint of this entire saga. Baldoni had long considered the film his passion project, a career-defining chance to bring a beloved novel to life with his own vision intact. His reputation for sensitive, heartfelt direction had earned him both the director's chair and producing authority. But once Blake Lively entered the project, the balance of power began to shift. Lively, known for being outspoken and deeply invested in her roles, quickly pushed for a rewrite of the rooftop sequence. At first, It looked like normal collaboration, an actress shaping her character's arc. But Owens claims it spiraled into something more. According to leaked texts, Baldoni responded with courtesy, praising her ideas while suggesting a compromise. Lively, however, allegedly pushed back hard, saying her creative input was being sidelined. To her, this wasn't about undermining Baldoni, it was about being recognized as a creative force in her own right. Owens paints a different picture. She says Lively organized a private meeting at her penthouse, telling Baldoni it would be just the two of them. Instead, he walked in to find not only Lively, but also Ryan Reynolds and Taylor Swift waiting. Owens describes the gathering as a power move, staged to corner Baldoni into agreeing to Lively's rewrite. Outnumbered and eager to maintain respect with his star collaborators, Baldoni relented. Owens even cites a voice note in which he apologizes profusely, assuring Lively how much he values her input. In Owens's framing, this was the moment Baldoni surrendered the most pivotal scene of his film. What followed, according to Owens, was a scramble. Production schedules shifted, budgets were reshuffled, and the rooftop scene was rewritten to align with Lively's vision. But unease lingered. Crew members whispered that the humor woven into the new version didn't feel like Lively's style, it sounded more like Reynolds'. Baldoni, ever the collaborator, pressed forward, believing star power could only strengthen the project. Yet that goodwill, Owens argues, may have been the very thing that left him exposed. The breaking point came at the film's premiere. On the red carpet, when asked about balancing family and career, Lively casually dropped a revelation. It was Ryan Reynolds who had written the now iconic rooftop scene. To the public, it might have seemed like a playful anecdote. But to Baldoni and the team, it was crushing. The rewrite, long framed as Lively's creative fight for recognition, was suddenly credited to Reynolds. In an instant, Baldoni appeared powerless, stripped of authorship on the very scene that had become the centerpiece of his project. For Owens, that moment tied everything together. From the metadata and pre-written articles, to the star-studded penthouse meeting, to the red carpet reveal, each step, she argues, formed a deliberate sequence designed to erode Baldoni's authority. What was meant to be his defining achievement unraveled into a very public stripping away of credibility, broadcast for the world to witness.
To begin, let's start with the end. The conclusion here, I have said this since before, long before this ever broke out between her and Justin Baldoni, that we have to compartmentalize. Blake Lively is not a good person. So no matter what happens in this lawsuit, no matter who wins in the end, do not let it distract you from the fact that she has proven herself not to be a...
That red carpet moment changed everything. When Blake Lively chose to credit Ryan Reynolds with rewriting the rooftop scene, it wasn't just a casual comment, it was, in Owens's view, the final blow. By publicly giving Reynolds the recognition, Lively erased the careful compromises Justin Baldoni had made to honor her creative vision. For the crew who had watched those tense negotiations unfold, the remark was more than surprising, it was deeply unsettling. Some even questioned whether Reynolds's uncredited contribution might raise union concerns. Since he had no formal role on the film, the fallout was immediate. Baldoni, once praised for his openness as a collaborator, suddenly looked like a director who had surrendered control. Instead of being recognized for his willingness to accommodate Lively's ideas, he appeared overshadowed by Reynolds, who now seemed to be the true creative force behind one of the movie's most defining moments. Owens stresses that this shift turned what had been an internal clash into a public humiliation, and it happened at the worst possible time, just as the film was set to premiere. From there, the spotlight shifted toward Reynolds himself. Known for his sharp humor and signature playfulness, he had built a reputation on witty digs aimed at friends, colleagues, and even Lively. But Owens argues that in the months surrounding the dispute, his jokes began to take on a new edge. Hidden references in promotional material for Deadpool and Wolverine and other projects suddenly lined up with the timeline of Baldoni's struggles. Fans laughed at first, chalking it up to Reynolds' usual comedy, but gradually began questioning whether the timing was too deliberate to be random. Owens points to subtle Easter eggs, cryptic social media posts, and even an unusual Gordon Reynolds credit in It Ends With Us that bore uncanny similarities to Reynolds' trademark humor. To casual viewers, these may have looked like harmless inside jokes. But to Owens, they served as Reynolds' way of quietly signaling his hidden influence over the film. Each nod, she claims, was a small but telling reminder that Reynolds had been shaping the narrative from the sidelines all along. Meanwhile, Baldoni found himself with fewer and fewer avenues to push back. His reputation as a kind and collaborative director, especially one who consistently championed female voices, ironically left him vulnerable. The very traits that had earned him respect may have been leveraged against him. In Owens's framing, Lively's push for creative recognition and Reynolds's comedic fingerprints combined into a calculated effort that slowly eroded Baldoni's authority for the crew. The red carpet revelation was devastating. Many felt blindsided by Lively's casual credit shift. What had been pitched as her moment of creative input was suddenly reframed as Reynolds's genius. Owens calls it the ultimate betrayal, not only stripping Baldoni of recognition but casting Reynolds as the mastermind behind the film's most talked-about scene. It was, in her words, a flawless move that left Baldoni diminished on his own set. Owens frames the saga as more than a dispute over rewrites. To her, it's a case study in how celebrity power can rewrite narratives, overshadow directors, and recast private disagreements as public victories. The metadata anomalies, the pre-release articles, the Easter eggs, and the carefully timed remarks, when lined up, they don't look like coincidences. They look like a strategy, and that strategy, Owens suggests, carries bigger implications. If someone like Baldoni, respected, collaborative, and dedicated to amplifying others' voices, can be pushed to the margins of his own film, what does that say about Hollywood's power dynamics? For audiences, the revelations are sobering. The glossy image of camaraderie and charm may hide far deeper struggles for control. Owens leaves her audience with a sharp reminder: betrayal doesn't always unfold in shadows. Sometimes, it plays out in plain view, wrapped in humor, whispered in meetings, hidden in file names, or dropped casually on a red carpet. For Baldoni, the experience may have been a personal unraveling. For Hollywood, Owens warns, it's a glimpse of a system where the brightest smiles may conceal the sharpest strategies.